Hello and welcome to Out the Gate. I'm Alex Donnelly, and this is where you'll get the weekend's best racing intel in 30 minutes flat. Joining me, as always, Gilbert Gardiner from the Herald Sun and Racenet. Gil, Sans jacket this week.
That's right, mate. Yeah, we've dressed down for week 3.
Well, we're now into what? The spring, so heading towards relaxed racing as it is, so I think we're just getting into the spirit of things.
That's right. I've still kept the green. I can't wear the green on the racetrack, so I figure I'll wear it in here, though.
Yeah, I wore the green on the racetrack once. My horse bled. Bin, never again. So yeah, it really is a bad omen. Never wear green punters. And up in Sydney, the sun's out. The good horses are back. It's a good time to be alive. It's Mitch Cohen. How are we, Mitch?
Yeah, didn't get the memo on casual Fridays on a Thursday here, boys, but looking good. The racing's good. It's a really good weekend of racing up here in Sydney, isn't it? I think, I know it is the first weekend of spring officially, but it really feels like it with the good horses in town on Saturday. So the sun's out finally. We're getting a dry track in Sydney. Well, we did last week, but it's actually here to stay now. So fingers crossed we can finally find some winners.
It does really feel like that time because it's our first weekend of footy finals in the AFL as well. So it's just a good time to be a sports fan, but of course all the good racing. But we do have the Group 1 preview for the Moir Stakes this weekend. It's Chelmsford and Concorde Stakes Day in Sydney. We can talk about the silliness of the 2,000 metre races going head-to-head. That's at Randwick and Moonee Valley. The best bets, the Quaddie legs, and all the news breaking in tomorrow's papers and online. But before we get started, make sure you do subscribe to Racenet on YouTube and hit the notifications bell as well. So anytime we do a video, it does pop up on your feed. Of course, with Hong Kong coming back this weekend, a lot of Hong Kong racing previews coming your way. Ka Ying Rising runs before he comes out to Australia this weekend too. Also, follow Racenet tweets on X. Make sure you follow Racenet on Facebook and Instagram. It is just at Racenet. But let's get out the gate. The Moir Stakes is the feature this weekend. It is a race 9 at Moonee Valley. The track, rail in the true position, and we are on a soft 5 at the moment, which, given the weather, probably should get to a good 4.
That's right. Well, nice sunny weather. I think 21 degrees, 22 degrees forecast for Saturday, which is ideal. As we've said previously, the one thing we don't need, especially when racing at the Valley, is rain on race day. So any rain, I mean, they've threatened rain today, obviously here in Melbourne. And even yesterday there was forecast for rain, and I don't know, I haven't seen any of it, and I live next to the Valley. So I don't know where this rain is allegedly dropping, but it's not dropping near the Valley, which is a good result. So I think, yeah, good 4 might be a bit of a stretch, although Sandown was upgraded to a good 3 yesterday after about 4 races. So the weather has certainly turned. It's nice and balmy, but no, we should have a great track. And a track, to its credit, has played excellent the first 2 meetings back.
Yeah, as said, keep that rain away. But the Moir Stakes is the feature. Group 1, $750,000. We have a field of 15 at the moment, but Jetabil expected to potentially stay in Sydney is the news this morning. We'll ask Mitch that later. But let's have a look at the speed map for this Group 1. Really interesting race because a couple of 3-year-olds do turn up in La Dorada and Esha. But as you can see here, Midwest, well, he would love this to be 9.55. That's his going life. Golden Boom as well will burn across from the gate. But Esha, off her most recent jump out, barrier trial, whatever you want to call it, looks like she'll have the toe. And given she's got 50 kilos, she has to be up on speed.
Well, the speed map's wrong. Esha is going to be that far in front of those two when they settle. It's not going to be funny. She's an electric horse.
Yep.
So I'm really interested to see how she goes. Massive effort. 3rd start in a Group 1. I mean, benchmarks, I think it's got a 72 rating.
Yep.
And here we are in a Group 1. And the reason they're doing that is 1,000 metres valley, and this horse is electric, as I said. So the speed map's wrong. Esha will be in front. I can guarantee you that. None of those will be able to keep up with her. Now, whether she can hold on to the end, I think she can. But how good is this race going to be? As you say, look, Midwest, Golden Boom, they're going to be up there sort of keeping the pressure on. Alabama Lass is the interesting one. I think
she'll be closer than that. She was up on speed when she raced at Flemington. That was down the straight. They went very quickly. And it's Craig Williams in a Group 1. He doesn't die wondering. He'll put her in the race.
No, that's right. So her and Skybird are probably the two that'll just be perched off this hot speed and just waiting to pounce. And, whether they get the luck at the right time to sort of get themselves out, they'll have to shoulder out a little bit, similar with Arabian Summer. They'll all be in that sort of firing line where they need a bit of luck around that bend. And there's not much, as we know, about 172 metres to find that luck. And look, Esha could be off and gone. Barrack Hill is obviously the danger from out wide. You've got Barrack Hill, Neance, and I am not willing to jump off Oak Hill just yet. I think Oak Hill, look, if he had won the car line, he's probably 10-1.
Is it the Chautauqua S setup where they go that far, he just burns around him off the camber?
Well, he's going to need luck. Blake Shin back on board, so he obviously won with Blake first up, and he gets on with the horse. The horse is settled. You'll read all about it tomorrow. They've tinkered a little bit with the training, probably made a little bit of a blue leading into the car line. So they've now straightened that up. Bishin back aboard and, $23. I mean, it shouldn't be 23. As I said, if he wins the car line, he's probably 10-1.
Yep.
And you're talking about him as one of the favourites. So he's certainly over the odds. Neon's, geez, I just hope she drew a better barrier. I think that's going to be the one query, and she has to step up. Let's be honest. She's won a Group 3 mares, won a couple of listed races. This is, it's a Group 1 sprint, and there's not a heap of Group 1. I mean, I think Rothfire is the only bona fide Group 1 horse in the field, and he hasn't won a Group 1 for quite some time. But there's a lot of tempo, a lot of speed. I've got to respect Graham Begg's confidence. Yep. He doesn't care about the barrier. She's a good horse. So she'll be around the mark, but I just don't think they're going to catch Esha. And keep an eye out for Lada Rada charging home at your 1,000 guineas filly.
So you're tipping Esha from the sounds of it?
Esha.
Yep.
Yep. They're not going to catch her. I think the only time they'll see her is going into the barrier.
Yeah.
And then that'll be the end of it.
It's because we haven't talked about it. Obviously, won really well first up here at the Valley, but her jump out, she went about 15 lengths faster than everything else on the day. The distances were wrong for all those playing at home thinking she's broken world record status there. The distances were about 30 or 40 metres out. She still ran really fast is the main thing.
That's right. And all the feedback is that she's just speed.
Yep.
Speed.
Well, there's only, 2,000 metre Group 1s for her?
Well, that's right. So she could be the specialist, the future Asfura. As you say, she's going to have limited opportunities to try and find these races. And there is a theory that she could actually stretch out. So we're not putting her in a 1,000-metre box. I think it's impossible. She's only had the two starts. So let's not pigeonhole her as a 1,000-metre specialist. But what she is, she's got speed. She's got the right draw. She's got the right jockey. She's got no weight. And I just think, there's an opportunity. They could have got an easier path, but they've gone, you know what? Let's have a crack at this Group 1.
Well, yeah, I don't mind at all. Also, her mum was a Group 1 winner over 1,600 metres, which Shane Nichols knows quite well. Mitch, how are you looking at this race from a Sydney point of view, just as sort of the outside looking? And I know there's one Sydney horse down to run, but probably going to scratch and run in Sydney in the Concorde.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know with the Sydney horses, but I reckon the first three home in the Concorde would have won the Moir Stakes. After we could decide that after the race, but I think we've got a better race up in Sydney on Saturday in the Concorde, that's for sure. Now, Jettabil is the horse you were referring to. Speaking to Brad Whittip yesterday, the preference was to remain in Sydney and give him his chance to stake his claim for an Everest, really. His owner, Michael Gregg, does own an Everest slot, so he's no guarantee. Brad said it's not like he's not locked in for the slot. He's got to earn his way in there, and if he runs well on Saturday, you've got a horse like Jimmy Star up here in Sydney that's going to be already locked in for the Everest. So if you run well, you can give yourself a pretty good guide of where he sort of measures up, Jettabil, heading into the spring. But in terms of the Moir Stakes, I thought Skybird was the bet here, boys. At around $11, this is a horse coming off a Group 1 win last start. I know she's had issues since then. I think it's a pectoral issue. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Gil. But look, she's tried up reasonably since. If she brings her A game and the speed is on up front, around that $11 mark, I think she looks like a terrific bet in this race. She's a proven Group 1 performer against a bunch of horses that are coming through their grades that are in the market. Look, I think $11, take that. Thank you.
She does come through the greatest race of the last 20 years with everyone winning a Group 1 in the Golden Eagle. But yeah, jumped out well. I don't mind Alabama Lass. I know I'm not the tipster on this show, but I don't mind Alabama Lass. I thought her win at Flemington last prep was awesome. I think she could almost go Imperatriz-esque and just absolutely sweep them through here. But absolutely great race this weekend in the Moir. But Mitch, we'll get up to Sydney because obviously your best bet comes up in one of the main races of the day. We'll touch on the Concorde in a second, but your best bet does come up in race number 7. It's the Chelmsford Stakes. But take us through the track. The rail's in the 4-metre position, and we're probably going to be on a good deck by Saturday.
Yeah, we will be. And look, we're back at Randwick now. It's we're obviously at Rose Hill last week, but there'll be a lot of racing at Randwick in the coming weeks. Look, it's just good to be back on a fair track and a good track. I mean, a lot of the horses still that are coming through that winter form are still racing on heavy track. And a lot of the horses on Saturday faced a heavy track at Randwick 2 weeks ago when we thought maybe the meeting was going to get cancelled. So, look, just good to be back on a good track and really good racing.
And your best bet comes up in the Chelmsford Stakes. It is race number 7 on the card. Notably, all of these horses are cheering because Via Sistina hasn't turned up.
Yeah, she'll looks like she's down in Melbourne and follow that similar path. But I thought, I can't believe you're still getting even money Chow Wolf in the Chelmsford Stakes, to be honest. Look, he's the best miler in this field and one of the best milers in Australia. He's a horse that's won an Epsom and a King Charles last spring over this track and trip. He gets into this race and he's facing horses that are mainly looking towards staying races. I mean, Sedelius is second favourite. He's also second favourite in a Melbourne Cup and never raced over a mile in his life. So you've got a horse like Chelmsford, who's just a gun miler. I think he's certainly the horse to beat, and anything over even money on Saturday is absolutely stealing. He's, for me, I'm standing him out in the Quaddie, just a note for later on. I think he's just an absolute near certainty on Saturday. Like his first start run, look, there was a bit of, feedback on Chad Schofield's ride, which Joe Pride has defended, but it was a good run all the same. I think on Saturday over a mile, he's there to win. Chelmsford and Chelmsford for sure on Saturday, boys.
I did read that Joe Pride has said this is the time that we may try something different with the barrier because they may look to take up a position and try and take out that luck of runnings. He said, we're not going to risk it in a $5 million King Charles. I suppose the $300,000 Chelmsford is the time to see if a changing tactics does work.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a serious horse, though, isn't he? I think he's adaptable. He's got the good draw on Saturday as well. So, look, as you said, the King Charles, Joe's made it known that that's his grand final, really, in a $5 million race that he's won last year. Why not? But look, if you just go through this field on Saturday, there's a few other horses in there that are in the market. I mean, Arapaho, he's a Sydney Cup winner. He's a good horse, and he was great in that Winx Stakes. Take nothing away from him, but he's not a miler.
Can't agree more there. Gil, we'll get to you for your best bet at the Valley over the weekend. Race 8, the So You Think Stakes. I just want to say, So You Think needs a better race than this to be named after.
Yeah, absolutely he does too. And it's not even a list. It's not even a stakes race, I don't think.
It's just a created race for set weights and penalties with $200,000 attached to it.
That's right. But no, he'll get his chance. I'm sure they'll find a way. But no, look, Desert Lightning, I think, we're not getting not getting a great price, but I think it was a super run last start in the Bletchingley behind Private Eye, and basically just goes here and wins. Probably similar vein to the Chelmsford up north. Is a lot of these are sort of horses looking for a bit more ground, and he's sort of right in his wheelhouse. That 1500, 1600 is sort of the pet distance. Zardozi, probably looking towards 2,000 metres plus. Moira was actually a cheeky run last start.
Yeah, a lot of people picked up on that.
Yeah, a little cheeky run. I mean, to be fair, got a few of the favours down on the inside, had clear air, I think produced decent closing sectionals from memory, and she could run a cheeky race, and I think she worked pretty well on Tuesday at the Valley. The Waller horses, the Waller camp was grinning from ear to ear. Their horses that they sent to the Valley on Tuesday worked really well. They sort of worked quite international style, sort of in a string. It was a weird formation that they operated on around the Valley, and so I think just keep her on notice. But I mean, the rest of them, and of course, rumbled again. We had her as our value bet last week, I think, or a couple of weeks ago, and sort of loomed up again and ran third. Might find it hard in this sort of field, but I think she can run a cheeky race. The Melbourne Cup winner comes back, but he'll need 14 laps of the Valley to get warm. So Desert Lightning just wins, and it'd be great to see Luke Nolan back in the winner's stall. Yeah,
because he's had a pretty long injury layoff as well. He's just been slowly building up around the provincial track, and he said to Robert Heathcote, "No, I'm ready to go for Rothfire," and obviously Moods has thrown him on Desert Lightning here.
That's right, a little tune-up. So no, he's had a bit of bad luck, old Luke Nolan. And, he's got himself back from an ACL and some facial injuries, a nasty fall there late last year, December. So he's been riding the last year. He's riding a lot of track work. He's been working really hard. And speaking of Moods, he said that he hasn't seen Nolan this fit for a long time.
Okay.
So his body's actually, the time off in a way, he's got himself right in his body, and so that was probably an endorsement to what Luke told Rob Heathcote about the ride on Rothfire. So I'm not sure Rothfire can win the Moir. He might be better suited to a Manikato, but I'm fairly comfortable that Desert Lightning should be able to win the So You Think.
Yeah. I was going to say, back to Moira, your point, she could be, I was going to say the Yalumba, but of course that's the Underwood, or a Might and Power sort of race for her where she's not against V. Sistina or Treasure the Moment. Those sort of, not to say lower level group ones, but not against the top echelon, shall we say.
That's right, for a $5 million prize money earner too. So she's actually not bad,
yes, it's not bad at all. Mitch, we'll get to your next best of the weekend. Comes up in race number 6, obviously the 3-year-old filly series well underway, and this is the Furious.
Yeah, second leg here, and a lot of the same horses that come out of that first leg from a few weeks ago, the Silver Shadow. I've gone with a horse that's come out of that race within the law. Now, she was basically turned up to every grand final as a 2-year-old. So you would have been thinking maybe how's she going to turn up at 3 with such a heavy workload at 2? But she really proved that she's just a really good filly, didn't she? When she returned in that race, she carried 2 kilos more than her rivals. She gets back to set weights here without penalties. Look, the draw's a little bit sticky for her. But with horses like Agarwood and I think Angel Ladder, of course, as well, that both go forward, drawn a little bit out, they should put the speed on early so she can settle back and show that finishing burst that she did in races like the English Millennium, where she just missed, where she went back and rattled home again. So I think she's a decent bet, albeit she will need a little bit of speed on. I guess the big question mark in this race is, what are we expecting from Apocalyptic? Now, there were many in the trainer thought that she really could have been the pick of the 2-year-olds, but just never got the chance, a little setback. She's hard in the market, has trialled up nicely. She could be something special, but I want to go with a horse that has been there and done that and really proven herself through over the past 12 months within the law.
I was going to ask you about Apocalyptic because obviously there was the big boom on her before her debut run after her trials. And of course, she was really well backed for the Magic Millions. But then after her first run, there was like, nope, we're going to go for the Slipper. Obviously never turned up. Her trials haven't been as exciting, shall we say, as they were before her debut run.
Yeah, I think she's tried up reasonably, though. And I think, look, she's hard in every market. Well, she's hard in the flight stakes market, and she's only had the one start. I mean, the debut run behind Gallo Nero was excellent. She was the eye catcher, probably should have won that race. I think a lot of people have been waiting to see her back at the races now. I think she's going well enough, and she gets the good draw here. She's probably going to land box seat or just a little bit behind and be right there. So, look, she could be something right out of the box. But as I said, prefer to go with the filly. She could prove me wrong, but she hasn't raced in 250 days. So I'll go with the filly that we've seen plenty of within the law here.
Don't mind it. Gil, we'll get to your next best on the weekend. Race number 5, a small field, but a horse he just looks perfectly set up here, having his first start for the Chris Waller stable.
That's right, Angel Capital. And he's a very smart horse, isn't he? We haven't quite seen the best of him just yet, but he's unbeaten first up. He's too valuable to not be placing in the right races to be winning, especially when he wears the bottle green colours that they seem to sort of become airborne when they wear those.
Remember when they did the reverse about 4 years ago? They'd go backwards?
Yes, that's right.
It's been a great turnaround since they stopped calling him Yulong Storm.
That's right. So, no, look, he has trialled up well. He's had 3 trials, I think. So he's certainly been sort of screwed down for a first up. He won his first 2 and sort of a bit of a quieter one most recently. D-Lane on, and again, just looks a very winnable race.
Yeah, you just sort of have a look through this race. Obviously, used to be Clinton McDonald, but like Compelling Truth, God bless him for being a Wagga Town Plate winner, but Zoo Sensation as well, won a couple in a row. This race, Smallfield, looks to set up perfectly for him, provided he gets that bit of luck at the top of the straight. He should just kick clear.
That's right. And look, Red Hot Nick spoke to Philip Stokes yesterday. It's won his last 2 at the Valley, and we know what Red Hot Nick is going to do. It's going to be handlebars down again.
Yep. And
catch me if you can. And so that Stokes did sort of concede that whether he's quite got the class to hold them off on this occasion, because, he's coming up against some decent horses, Angel Capital, of course, and Zoo Sensation has been earmarked as a Rupert Clark type horse. Yep. So we expect Zoo Sensation to be finishing off hard. I thought Miraval Rose has trialled up nicely. She was in the same trial as Magic Time from memory, and Neons, who's running in the Moir. So you got to expect those 3 horses will be chasing Red Hot Nick pretty hard. I'm probably leaning more towards. I mean, we know the quality of Angel Capital. We haven't seen the best of him yet. I mean, that's probably to come. He's only a 4-year-old, and he's just too valuable to have in the wrong races.
So, do we think if all being well he wins this, then he goes to the Rupert Clark to try and knock off his first Group 1, and then maybe it's probably a Turak Golden Eagles sort of style for him, pick up the prize money after the Group 1.
That's right. Yeah, he needs to get his Group 1. Son of Harry Angel. They're sort of airborne, aren't they, the Harry Angels? So he's got to get himself a Group 1, and that'll be the path that Chris will be mapped out for him.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing, Chris Waller, that's for sure. Mitch, for your value bet on the weekend, we wait until the final race of the afternoon. It's a winner second up in the past, and first up looked like it needed the run.
Not just needed the run. I'd say you just want to be forgiving of that race. She was slow away, about 2 lengths slow on that occasion, sort of went back, which she often does, but she was slowly away as well. And I just don't think she really handled the track. It was a heavy track that day. the wheels were spinning, and that finishing burst that we've seen on multiple occasions, she just wasn't able to show. We're talking about Bohemia here in the final event on the program. Number 7, Tommy Berry, to ride. Now, Tommy's had a good association with this horse. She was right hard in the market in the Magic Millions Guineas earlier this year. She actually put up with a little issue there, was coughing after the race. So she did have excuses, but on her day, she's a quality horse. And I think at around the $10 mark, she can be a really good chance in the last race. So that's Bohemia in the last for me.
And Gil, your value bet, you've already touched on it earlier, talking about the Moir. Oak Hill, who, as we said, was better fresh, and they've tinkered with the training.
That's right. So I just think he's a definite rebound contender. So basically, he went into the first up run. I think it was a benchmark 100,000 at the Valley. They sort of let him go out there and just see what happens. And what we saw was an exceptional display. He sort of looped them in about 2 strides around the bend and came away and won sort of hard held under Blake Shin. Now, second up, they knew going into that run that he wasn't screwed down at all. It was basically a prep run, and he just blasted them away. So second up, they trusted the horse. They thought, oh, well, we'll stick to what's happened. We'll stick to the winning formula. Now, unfortunately, he probably raced too fresh. And we saw that second up under Mark Zara. It wasn't Mark's fault. It was just the horse was just too fresh. He is a bit of a nutcase, a bit of a mental case. He needs things to go right, and he's got a bit of a soft mouth, or a hard mouth, I guess. He likes to over race and do things a bit wrong. So he went in fresh and he raced accordingly. He was fresh, got held up, couldn't get momentum, and he needs momentum. And that's the key for Saturday. He will have momentum because they'll be burning along in front. There's not going to be a stop-start. You know, it's basically a slingshot situation. And you touched on Chautauqua. I mean, he's not quite Chautauqua. I don't think you'll get to those heights. But that's the sort of style that you'll see. So there'll be the slingshot around the bend. He could be coming among the widest runners, and he's got a devastating turn of foot that he showed first up. I think, at $23, as I said, he should be half the price. Can he win? Well, no, because I think Esha will win. But I'll have him.
$5 the place.
I'll have him in my exactors. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's that high chaparral blood in him that makes him a bit of a nutcase. Of course, at the Valley, 6 starts, 4 wins in a second. And the first time he missed out was a last start. Let's get to the quaddies for this weekend. We'll keep it nice and short after last weekend's because they were no good from both ends. I think a 50-1 pop knocked both of you out at some stage. But Mitch, you are really trimming it up this week.
Sticking it all on the line in race 1. I've made the best bet, Chow Wolf. So I've stood him out in the first leg of the quaddie. So rate number 2 in race 7. I've gone 1, 3, 4, and 5 in race 8. 2, 5, 7, and 12 in race 9, and 7, 8, and 11 in the lucky last. So fingers crossed we get a good percentage. But yeah, let's hope Chow Wolf can get the chockies first up. Otherwise, we could be in licorice all sorts.
$100 gets you 208.33%. Of course, we didn't touch on the Concorde. It is race number 8 at Randwick this weekend. Jimmy Star returns. It's a set weights and penalties race. He returns. We've got New York Luster down the bottom for EJ, which is a very interesting runner as well. But obviously, Lady Shenandoah, probably the star of the show on Saturday. She does return, and she looks to be on an Everest path, Mitch.
Yeah, could be. I guess we'll find out on Saturday. I think you look at the few at the top of the market that I referred to earlier in terms of Jimmy Star, who of course has got that tab slot look. I don't think they're going to be knocking around Jimmy Star too much, especially from that wide draw. He'll probably get back and be hitting the line strongly, and that's a pass mark for a horse that's already assured a berth in the Everest. But Lady Shenandoah, Chris has made it known that he's going to try and train her as a sprinter this preparation. She gets a chance to show it on Saturday. She's got the perfect draw, doesn't she? She's probably just going to land in the box seat and get every possible chance on Saturday. So as long as James gets out, if she can produce, and all the mail is that she's really flying, and if you've seen her at the trials, look, she's looked fantastic. So on Saturday, she gets the chance to prove that she can match it with some quality sprinters. Now, of course, Headwall is there as well. Matt Smith's made it known that he wants him in the Everest. There's limited spots to go around, so he's going to need to win one of these lead-ups, whether it's this race or the shorts. He's there to run well as well on Saturday. Has trialled up nicely. And, of course, Jetabil, as we mentioned, staying in Sydney. So he's a chance. It's a great race, better than the Moir, you'd have to say. But that's what happens when you put up $1 million.
Gil, New York Luster sneaks down or sneaks up to Sydney as well. That's a prize money chase for sure by EJ.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, the horse warrants a shot at it. Has been racing really well without much success. Looked really good first up behind In Flight. Now, In Flight's a $10 chance in this alleged crack minor Everest that we're building here out of Sydney. So let's all focus on that. But look, I just think New York Luster wide draw, not so much an issue. Does get back in the run a little bit. Has Tim Clark on, who knows what he's doing around the Sydney tracks, and she's a 3-time winner at the distance, and I just think that she could just run a really cheeky race. Now, we're not going to go too early. Off camera, Mitch has been talking up these Sydney horses. Of course, they're the best sprinters in the world.
Jimmy doesn't count as a Sydney horse, though, does he? Like, I'm a Sydney born and bred, but the top two on the tab sheet here, Jimmy Star and Mornington Glory, they're Victorians.
That's right. And if you look back at the honour roll of both of those big races in Sydney, I think you'll find Victorian horses tend to win them more often than not. Not since probably Redzell or something, as a Sydney horse won one of the main event up there in Sydney. But look, I just think New York Luster will run a cheeky race. I think Mitch doesn't like her for top 10, I think he said, in an 11-horse field, Mitch. I'll have a little nice little wager with you. I reckon top 5. What do you reckon?
It's a 14-horse field. I'll give you top 7, Gil. How's that sound?
Perfect.
We'll meet halfway. I don't think she'll finish top 7 on Saturday. Look, to be honest, you're calling Victorian horses. They've all opened up stables in New South Wales for a reason, boys. Look, the prize money's too good up here. They all want to move up here. The weather's better. The prize money's better. And it turns out the racing's better too.
That's right. Oh, well, we haven't got a sponsor for this segment just yet, but there might be a nice bottle of something coming your way if I'm right or if you're wrong. How about that?
I was going to say a lunch, but a bottle of something will do. The only thing about Sydney is the rent's too high. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But Gil, let's get to your quaddie so some people can pay their rent. Gone a little bit wider, but not too wide for the punters this weekend.
No, that's right. And I probably should. I have been accused of having 2 sets of tips, so I will put it out there that if you read the Herald Sun last week, you did get the quaddie in the Quadzilla page because I included Tropicus, I think, from memory.
Knocked you out the first leg.
Knocked me out in our video quaddie, but then once I had a real good look and the paper, so the readers saluted last week.
Always get to the Herald Sun,
which was nice, but. So I will put my hand up. I did have 2 sets of quaddies last week, but on this occasion, and they'll be the same in the paper on Friday when you read it, leg 1, 1, 2, 5 and 8. Leg 2, 4, 6 and 12. Leg 3, 9, 12, 14 and 16. And we'll come home with 1, 2, 3.
Geez, if King Zephyr can win that last race as well, he might be another one that finds his way into a Rupert Clark as well. So we could be looking at a really good Rupert Clark this year. For your quaddie, $100 gets you 69.44%. But we do need to get into the news this week. We have run a bit longer as usual, but when these good horses are coming back, we will be talking a bit more about them as always. But Gil, what's coming up in the Herald Sun and Racenet in the next couple of days?
Look, a couple of nice stories. Obviously, Esha, we've been talking her up. So I had a chat to Hayden Black. So he's the new co-trainer with Shane Nichols. He's actually a Newcastle native, worked up in Sydney a long time and sort of made his way, had spent a year or 2 in Newmarket, and then came down to Melbourne. He's working with Shane Nichols. He's joined the ticket. I think they've had about 4 or 5 starters for a winner of 2/3, and now they're Group 1 starter on the weekend. So
good time to join.
It'd be absolutely a great time to join. So I had a chat to him, and there's a good sort of story there. If he wanted to be a race caller.
Yeah.
That was his first career choice as a 10-year-old. Sitting at home, his dad was watching the races, and he'd sit at home with a Daily Telegraph, Mitch, in front of the telly, Newcastle there, I guess, and commentating race calling races with the Daily Telegraph in front of him. So anyway, so it's a nice story there, and he gets his chance. A sleepless night coming for him on Friday night.
Probably a sleepless one if he wins.
And if he wins, absolutely. And then Neance, of course, is another great story. Like a lot of horses, I guess Barrackeel is an example of that. Rothfire is a prime example of that. What it takes to get a horse to the Group 1 arena and how hard it is. And Neance, 8 months ago, basically had a fractured skull.
Oof.
And they don't know how she did it.
Yeah.
Basically, they went and checked her, and she had an issue, and she was lucky to sort of make it out of the vet hospital, put it that way. And here we are 8 months on, and we're favourite or second favourite in the Group 1. And that journey that puts owners and trainers, and you don't want to lose any horse, of course, but it just goes to show the resilience needed in the horse and the connections and the patience, and in this case, it could result to a nice result on Saturday.
I was going to say, back to Hayden, I think there's an interesting story because there's a bunch of blokes that are in Newmarket all at the same time. They're either all trainers in partnerships or on their own, right? Or in Jack Turnbull's case, second in charge to Kieran Maher. I think there's about 6 or 7 of them that were over there at the same time. It is it's this new generation of trainer, and they were all in Newmarket at the same time. It was probably about 7 or 8 years ago now.
That's right, yeah. So in sort of AFL parlance, like the Super Draft, isn't it? It's like the 2001 Super Draft. They're all there. Sam Freedman, McAvoy, Turnbull, Ben Gleeson, Hayden, Junior. Yeah, so
Will
about
Friedman,
6 or 7.
Sam Freedman.
Yeah, yes. So I tell you what, imagine you had the WhatsApp group of what was going on back in those days.
Guy was the trainer with Toby Edmonds as well. That's now gone out on his own as well. He was up there as well. There was about 8 or 9 of them. It is genuinely a super draft of trainers. Mitch, what's going on in the DT and Racenet this weekend?
Race had a good chat with Joe Pride. He's obviously got Chelmsford there on Saturday, but also one of Australia's real champion horses at the moment. Probably champion's a bit of a stretch, but he is a fantastic horse in Private Eye, who's just been up for so many grand finals over the past. It feels like forever, doesn't it, boys? I mean, I know he's campaigned down your way and successfully as well. He's just been everywhere, Private Eye, for everything from McKinnon Stakes, I think, at one stage into a couple of Everest placings. So, look, he's still racing and will be there racing on Saturday. But the main thing for us, boys, is just going to be really, as it is often at this time of year, it's Everest watch heading into this weekend with especially that Concorde Stakes, but just not the Concorde. As you mentioned earlier, Alex, it's Car Ying Rising time. He's the favourite for the race for a reason. He's returning on Sunday afternoon. So, look, there'll be all eyes on Hong Kong to see how he goes before his only run before he comes over to Australia. Has that barrier trial on the Monday, a week before the Everest, that he'll come over now. David Hayes has said that Zach Purton's going to come over and ride him in that trial. He'll be here for that trial. So they're taking it pretty seriously as his final sort of prep run. But obviously he's got to get through Sunday first. But I think we're all expecting the same result based on his trials over there. The horse looks to be absolutely flying. And look, it's just going to be exciting to have him here. He's a real star. We haven't had a horse of his quality in terms of an international coming over to race in an Everest. I mean, he's the world's best sprinter, and it may be the only time we get to see him. There was a thought that he might go down to Melbourne, but like most people, he thought, you know what, I'm going to stick in Sydney. I'm better off doing that.
And then also, he's only going to have the one run and then go home because the owner wants to sort of thank the Hong Kong Jockey Club for their commitment of allowing him to go to the Everest to support that. Maybe next year, David Hayes has said he wants to have a crack at the VRC sprint, because I think David Hayes, 1, wants Everest redemption after Vega Magic, and 2, wants to show this horse off in Melbourne as well. And I think he's giving away £15 at a minimum to the rest of his opponents this weekend. So it will be interesting. There's a few go forward horses there, but he should just blow the doors off them.
He should. Well, I just wouldn't forget the other Lindsay Park horse that might knock him off in the main event.
War Machine. How'd I get that? How am I going? Let's quickly
just get a slot first.
Yeah. There's 8 slots left. I think you'll get one. We'll touch on the quick Group 1 selections this weekend from the boys. Gil's keen on Esha, but also value bet of Oak Hill. Mitch likes Skybird for the best bets this weekend in Melbourne. Gil is keen on Desert Lightning as his best bet. Angel Capital is next, and the value has said Oak Play. Best bet in Sydney for Mitch is Chow Wolf. Within the law, the next best, and the value play is Bauhinia in the last. That is us done and dusted this week on Out the Gate. Follow the boys on social media. Gil at Gilbert Gardiner, Mitch at Mitch RW Cohen, and of course, Racenet Tweets is our social. Make sure you do like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the notifications bell, because we will be having a chat about the Hong Kong opening day later today. That'll go up across Racenet and Punters. So we will we're just going to show the barrier trial replay of Car Ying Rising, and then I think I found one that'll get the job done for the Punters on Sunday afternoon as well. But Gil, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch.
Cheers, boys.
Can't wait for next weekend. Of course, Maccabi Diva Stakes Day next weekend. Treasure the moment against Via Sistina and everything else. But we will catch you next week on Out the Gate.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.